Absolutely. I've got a special guest today. Our coronavirus czar is with me here, and before I go any further, I want to just tell these feelings are for real in every way. He has been an incredible partner with me through this entire thing, and Dr. Marsh is he's not only a brainiac, but he gets it. He gets it from the standpoint of community and love for West Virginia, and I could never be more thankful. So he's going to talk with you in just a few moments, and like I said, I'm always really tickled to see him. He's one special man, and he can't be thanked enough in my book. But we've got 30 additional deaths since the last time we were together. I want to read through those and ask for your prayers for these people, and ask that you'll just remember what I've said over and over. Don't let these people become a number. Just absolutely, if you would, please reach out to the families if you know them, and if you don't, just please keep them in your prayers. The 4,519th death of a 68-year-old male from Upshur County. The 4,520th death of a 61-year-old male from Logan County. The 4,521st death of a 65-year-old male from Raleigh County. The 2,522nd death of an 84-year-old female from Kanawha County. The 2,523rd death of a 49-year-old female from Wayne County. The 4,524th death of an 84-year-old female from Wayne County. The 4,524th death of an 83-year-old female from Wayne County. And let me back up and say the 4,523rd death of a 49-year-old female from Wayne County. And if I could skip, the 4,525th death of an 88-year-old female from Wayne County. The 4,526th death of a 77-year-old female from Mingo County. The 4,527th death of a 49-year-old female from Wood County. The 4,528th death of a 73-year-old male from Preston County. The 4,529th death of a 44-year-old female from Cabell County. The 4,530th death of a 53-year-old male from Nicholas County. The 4,531st death of an 80-year-old male from Webster County. The 4,532nd death of a 65-year-old male from Cabell County. The 4,533rd death of an 81-year-old female from Kanawha County. The 4,534th death of a 73-year-old male from Berkeley County. The 4,535th death of a 71-year-old male from Doddridge County. The 4,536th death of a 76-year-old female from Lincoln County. The 4,537th death of a 36-year-old male from Lewis County. It's bad. The 4,538th death of a 70-year-old female from Harrison County. The 4,539th death of a 57-year-old female from Kanawha County. The 4,540th death, an 88-year-old male from Kanawha County. The 4,541st death, a 67-year-old female from Cabell County. The 4,542nd death, a 96-year-old female from Raleigh County. The 4,543rd death, an 81-year-old male from Hancock County. The 4,544th death, a 93-year-old female from Wood County. The 4,545th death, a 66-year-old female from Wood County. The 4,546th death, a 79-year-old male from Tucker County. The 4,547th death, a 65-year-old male from Harrison County. And the 4,548th death is a 67-year-old male from Jefferson County. I mean, if you step back and think about it, I've said it thousands of times, it seems like, but 4,548 people have perished in this pandemic. It's just unthinkable, to tell you the truth. Active cases are 6,318. We have 407 new positive cases today. We probably didn't test a lot and everything, but our positivity rate is at 9.16. Our cumulative rate is at 6.14. Recovered cases a little over 267,000. We're 533 that are hospitalized, 197 in the ICU units, and 100 on ventilators. there's about 20% of the folks that are hospitalized in West Virginia, maybe a little less than that are hospitalized that are fully vaccinated. The overwhelming percentage of the number of deaths or the number that are in the ICU units are unvaccinated folks. So what does that tell you? It tells you just straight and simple, you've got to get vaccinated. That's all there is to it. There's 7 green counties now. Maybe that's a little teeny bit better. There are 42 outbreaks in 19 counties. There's 636 people, in our school systems that have COVID or have the Delta variant, and overwhelmingly it's all Delta now. I want to talk to you just a second because, this just happened, on Friday, but we lost a great man in West Virginia, a real friend of mine, Bob Kiss, and Bob had been the Speaker of the House and the Secretary of Revenue, I asked for your prayers, and I am issuing a proclamation to lower all West Virginia flags and U.S. flags to half-staff tomorrow in honor of this great West Virginian. Bob was 63, I think, and I've been told 64 and 63, but nevertheless, way too young for us to lose him, and a real spokesman, a real servant, to West Virginia, and a real friend of mine. So anyway, please keep him in your prayers, and all of his loved ones, all of his family. I've just got some announcements I'm going to do here real quick, but our Do It for Baby Dog Round 3 is going to start now, and we're going to be focusing on the kids that are 5 to 11 years of age, or really 5 to 18 years of age. We're dialed in to the fact, and Dr. Marsh is going to talk to you in just a little bit, but when you hear from him, you're going to hear point blank news that we're still a long ways from being out of the woods. The way we get out of the woods is real simple. We get our population vaccinated. We get our population fully vaccinated. I think you'll hear in just a second from me that from a standpoint of vaccination, we're almost at 64% of those that are 5 and above in our population, but we still lag behind. We're still around 54% of fully vaccinated. And I would just tell you, just as point blank as I know how to tell you, without any question, if you're going to get vaccinated, you've surely got to follow up and get fully vaccinated. And then if you need your booster shots, you'll hear some profound words from Dr. Marsh in regard to your booster shot in just a minute. But as far as our baby dog stuff, the framework is we're going to dial this into our kids and dial it in from the standpoint of not a scholarship, but as an educational savings fund. And so what we're going to do is for 4 weeks here, and registration will begin tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 9th. The first week entry deadline will be Sunday, November the 14th. We'll do this the week of November 15th, 29th, December 6th, and December the 13th. And we're going to jump across Thanksgiving. We're going to try to have this wrapped up and everything before Thanksgiving. But this is our campaign to try to do something to incentivize our youngest and the youngest with parental, approval and everything to get vaccinated. We're going to give away 25 educational savings funds per week of $10,000 each. 25 of them we're going to give away every week. We're going to give away 100 lifetime hunting and fishing licenses per week, lifetime. We're going to go through the weeks, and we're going to give a grand prize winner each week that's going to get a $50,000 educational savings fund. And in addition to that, we're going to give the students, where the student was selected, we're going to give the school a $50,000 check as well. And then we're going to have some kind of baby dog and the governor type party at the school that's been awarded this. And then the last thing we're going to do is during the last week, we're going to up it just a little bit more, and we're going to give away a $100,000 educational savings fund to a student and everything. And we're going to have a grand prize there where maybe maybe Santa and Baby Dog as a reindeer will come, and we'll also give $100,000 to the school at that time. So with all that, we'll have some fun with all this and everything, and we'll also, you'll also hear additional remarks and everything from, that a doctor, I guess a doctor will join us. Is that correct? Are we going to try to do that? We're going to have vaccine available at the schools and everything with parental approval and everything. We're going to have a doctor that's going to be with us and maybe deliver some good messages to whomever, to the school while we're there. But the net of the whole thing is we're going to try to wrap all this up before Christmas, and it's open to all West Virginians, no matter what age, but primarily we're dialed in to the 5 through 18-year-olds, and I think 5 through 17 has to have parental consent, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out with Baby Dog. We're going to dial right into our schools, and we're going to try every way whatsoever we can to at least incentivize from the standpoint of education. Maybe not incentivize from the standpoint of, you got to take this booster shot, but at least put it in the eyes of the public, to where they can see and everything, and we just don't push this in the background because we're close, but we're not there. We're just not there yet. Now, we've got a great big grand opening that's coming up, and today I'm excited to invite all West Virginians to tune in or attend a huge ribbon-cutting celebration this Thursday, November the 11th, as we cut the ribbon for the last 14.6-mile section of, believe it or not, Route 35 from Buffalo to Point Pleasant. Now, you and I both know, it's been forever. Forever is the right word. Forever trying to get this road done. And with all that, the final section cost $257 million. It is absolutely, this event will be held on Veterans Day, and will also pay tribute to all the veterans and their families, that are there, and all their honor that they've given in every way. I invite you to come and join us or watch the event on my social media or the West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Details are all up on the website and everything. This is a major Roads to Prosperity project that allows travelers to drive on smooth 4-lane road for 37 consecutive miles beginning at Interstate 64 at Scott Depot and continuing straight through to Point Pleasant and the Ohio State line. We've been waiting for this a long time, long time. That's great stuff right there. Also on Veterans Day, we'll have a virtual Veterans Day ceremony this Thursday, and it'll be on air on our social media and on TV with the West Virginia Public Broadcasting Channel at 11 a.m. on Thursday. The event will have our Adjutant General Bill Crane will be on. There'll be our Veterans Secretary Ted Diaz, just a whole lot of people. Jeff Sandy with Homeland Security. We'll hear from a performance from absolutely the winning champions beyond belief, the Cabell Middle and High School Marching Band, and also the Winfield High School show choir will perform. It is just a great honor and a great tribute to the people that have given us every single thing we have on this planet. And the last thing I have is the House of Representatives passed the infrastructure bill. It's going on to the Senate. There's lots and lots of problems and everything, all over the place in regard to that bill and everything. we'll see, I guess, how the outcome will come out of the Senate and everything. We thank our representatives that voted for this, but at the same time, there's issues and everything. I hope to goodness that we'll get a clean infrastructure bill passed to where we'll be able to do phenomenal work on our bridges and roads and all of our different projects across this nation. So I thank those that are trying to push this through, but at the same time, I totally understand, you know, the bells and whistles, you know, that may be a problem. From the standpoint of, you know, a reminder, again, I'm going to go back to just announcements, but 65 and older, if you have any health conditions whatsoever, you know, I want you to go get tested. And then right behind that, if we can catch this early enough and everything, you know, from the standpoint of our antibodies, we'll get it. You know, our face coverings, you know, remember if you're, you know, this Delta variant is highly infectious. And if you're 65 and older and you have any kind of health conditions at all, you probably ought to be wearing a mask indoors for sure. You know, one of the issues that we need to absolutely get people to move on is these booster shots. You know, we shouldn't have people in the hospital, to tell you the truth, that are fully vaccinated. We should not have them there, or have so few, it's unbelievable, because the booster is as simple as just what it says. It is absolutely true, beyond belief, and I want you to hear these words from Dr. Marsh in just a second. But without that booster, you're exposed. You know, I remind you, if you've lost your card, you know, we'll get you another one. Like I've said, I've been through this a little bit. You know, we're up to 95.4% of the 65 and older. That's great. But really and truly, what we've got to dial into now is we're at 62.4% with one shot of our 5 and above age group. We're at 54% fully vaccinated. So we've got a ways to go still. And we keep battling this to get this as high as we possibly can. Dr. Marsh is going to give us more information on that in just a few minutes. The vaccine eligibility 5 and above, I encourage the parents to help me get the kids across the finish line. You know, I absolutely, without any question, you know, think that is the key right now. And that's a very, very single bullet that we've got. We've got to continue with that. President Biden's vaccine mandate for private businesses has been temporarily blocked by the Fifth Circuit Court. You know that. I mean, you know, I thank our Attorney General, Patrick Morrissey, for all the good work that he's done in regard to that. You know where I've stood rock solid behind that. I don't believe that we ought to be, you know, terminating people because they have some religious or medical condition, you know, in regard to their employment. Our grand families, you know, can help us with, they'll get the voucher of $150. You know, all of our testing is free. I thank Fruth, I thank Walgreens all the time. You know, the outbreaks in our long-term care facilities have backed off a little bit. Still, we got 38. We've got one active church outbreak. The church community's done really good. That's in Nicholas County. We've got 33 inmates and 30 staff cases in corrections, and corrections has done fantastic. I remind you to get your flu shot. You can get your flu shot the same time you can get the vaccine, you know, for the COVID vaccine. I absolutely, you know, urge you over and over and over. And I want to read this. This is a rental assistance program. If you are a renter who is struggling to pay rent or utilities because of financial hardship due to COVID, you may be eligible for assistance. Also, if you are a landlord and your tenants are struggling with rent payments that due to COVID, they may be eligible for rental assistance, and you may be eligible for rental payments. Look, we got $200 million for this. And I don't know, I don't have an update, but the The update I started with, a couple of weeks ago was we were at $46.9 million that have gone out. So there's a big delta that we could be sending money out to West Virginians and West Virginia renters or West Virginia landlords. You got to listen to me. And if you're suffering some level of financial struggle with that and everything, call us. Please call us. Remember, veterans, about our discount with all our state parks. It's out there for you. It's very deserving. You deserve it in every way. We thank you from the bottom of our heart. And we can never, never, never express enough gratitude to what our veterans have given us. So that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Governor. We'll go now to Dr. Clay Marsh, who's joining us in person today.
Well, good morning. In support of what the governor has said, we are starting to see an uptick in our reproductive value, our R value. And as we start to look at the present situation of COVID and the present status of COVID in the state of West Virginia, that is a bit concerning. And as we look at other places in our country and around the world where it's starting to get colder and people are gathering inside, we see that the number of cases of COVID-19 has started to creep back up, particularly in parts of Europe and in parts of our country, Colorado and other places where the altitude is higher and the weather is being colder. As the governor said, we are very focused on what we can do to support every life of every citizen in West Virginia and also to support our hospital systems that were stretched to the absolute limit by the most recent surge. And we know that the number one and primary approach that we have is to enhance the number of vaccinations. Really important that we've had about 550,000 or so West Virginians over 50 years old who've been fully vaccinated, but only about 45,000 third doses, booster doses that have been given. That is a big difference. And we know that people that have been vaccinated over 6 months ago, particularly people over 50 years old, don't have nearly the same immune protection as they did immediately after their vaccines and over the first 2 to 4 months. So we really implore everybody who is 6 months out from your second vaccine, if you got an mRNA vaccine, Pfizer or Moderna, or 2 months out from your Johnson & Johnson vaccine, to please get a booster. We need you to be fully immune to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in West Virginia. Similarly, as the governor quoted the numbers of our fully vaccinated, it's recently been put forward that for us to make COVID-19 an endemic problem, a yearly problem like the flu is, we would need 85 to 90% of our population to be fully vaccinated. We are far away from that in West Virginia, and we are far away from that in our country. So it's really, really critical at this point that people take the right precautions, get tested if you're sick, consider wearing a mask indoors if you're vulnerable, but please get your booster dose and please get your primary and secondary dose of the vaccine. That's the way we'll get out of this. And really, really important for each of us to recognize that in our hospitals today, we are seeing a lag in that sort of constant reduction, particularly in our really sick population, our ICU population, and our people on ventilators. And we see that about a quarter of the people now in the hospital who are people in the hospital are fully vaccinated, and about 15% of people in the ICU and on ventilators. And we look at our vaccine breakthrough deaths, we see almost all of them are in people 50 years old or greater. So really important, again, to get boosted. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marsh. Next, we'll go to retired Major General Jim Hoyer, the director of our Joint Interagency Task Force.
Good morning. Just to reinforce a couple of points that the governor and Dr. Marsh have made. As Dr. Marsh pointed out, our transmission rate value is trending back up. It is a value that we have spent a lot of time with data analytics team building, and we know it is exceptionally accurate and effective. And it tells us that we have hit a plateau again, and particularly going into winter months and cold weather, as more people go inside, we must get people vaccinated. Another indicator of that, as Dr. Marsh pointed out, is while we have seen a reduction in our hospital numbers, we've seen a slight plateau of that. We're at 536 hospitalized today, but 195 of those are in the ICU. We have dropped slightly below 100 on ventilator patients, but again, we have hit some plateaus and we need to work not just first doses, but as the governor and Dr. Marsh both have pointed out, we have got to pick up the speed on our booster doses. We continue to have, over the last week, about a 0.2% a day increase in first doses of those over the age of 18. So while that is an encouraging trend, as the governor has pointed out multiple times, Dr. Marsh, myself, and others, it is not fast enough. We've got to continue to increase that pace. A quick update on pediatric doses. We will be receiving the third wave of pediatric doses this week. We also had confirmation that over 9,900 doses went directly to pharmacies and community health clinics under the federal pharmacy program. We have placed another order for this week, and there will be a meeting today with CDC on future ordering criteria and updates. So we continue to work those efforts and continue to make progress to get pediatric doses out to those who will be administering those doses. If you have questions, please call your local health department or call our hotline for information on where you can get your child vaccinated. And last thing I'd leave you with, I too had the privilege of working with Bob Kiss, both when I worked in the Speaker's office at the state legislature, and he was finance chairman, as well as when he was Speaker, and I was with the National Guard. And to Melinda and Bob's two sons, I just want to tell you that Bob Kiss made a great difference in our state, particularly making sure that we built the foundation for financial stability, particularly in our pension systems and other things, as Governor Justice pointed out. And he really did make an impact on the people of West Virginia. So Melinda and family, we send you our thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ayn Amjad and Secretary Bill Crouch are joining us today and are available for questions. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first today from Kenny Bass with WCHS and Fox 11.
Thank you. I'd like to echo what the general and the governor have said about Speaker Kiss. He was great to work with. I was shocked to hear that he had passed. We've lost a great West Virginian, obviously. A question for the governor, some clarification on the Do It for Baby Dog 3. You said everyone will be eligible to enter, and you said entries will be tomorrow, but how will people get registered for the next set of giveaways? Thank you, sir.
Kenny, we'll back up and pick everybody up that has already registered, the ages 5 to 18 years of age. That's what we're dialing in on and everything. But we're just looking for people that once they're vaccinated and they're 5 to 18 years of age, they register. And but that's just we just go back to the same system we've had before. From the standpoint, if you go to our website on the screen, go through the how that works. It'll take 5 minutes max to be able to do it, and if from 5 to age 18 are eligible, and if their parents will just help them get through it and everything, and do it real quick.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Next, we'll go to Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Governor, I was wondering if you could tell us approximately how much money we're going to be spending on Baby Dog Round 3, and are we again going to be using our federal COVID dollars? Thank you.
Charles, it's federal COVID dollars, and I think we're looking at probably $2 to $3 million. It's nowhere close to the money that we spent before, but but we're reaching lots and lots of people because we're going to give away 100 $10,000 scholarships and or education savings funds. Rather, that's $1 million. We're going, and I think all in is probably $2 million.
All right, thanks, Charles. Next to Mark Curtis with Nexstar Media.
Good morning, Governor and cabinet members and fellow reporters. I have a non-COVID question. I'd just like to drill down a little bit on this federal infrastructure bill, Governor, and your thoughts on the significance. What are the priorities? The Democrats in the state Senate held a press conference with Senator Manchin this morning and talked about, in some way how the money will get divided up and what the priorities will be. But kind of talk about the big picture here. What impact will this have in addition to the money from the Roads to Prosperity program?
Well, Mark, I'm glad you asked about it because I need to clean up just a little bit here and everything. From the standpoint of the bill itself, I want everyone to understand, the controversy over the bill is just this, it's been thought by Nancy Pelosi that this great big spending bill that they're trying to push and ram down everybody's throat, this social spending supposedly bill, that I believe wholeheartedly is just a way to throw money every direction you can throw it because they're in such trouble with the midterm election and trying to buy the midterm election. I don't really believe this social bill is driven by, per se, really trying to help people. I am 100% behind trying to help all those that are having a tough time. But I don't believe in this. I don't believe in just throwing frivolous money away and cloaking it as trying to help people when really all we're trying to do is stay in power and buy an election. Well, I think so in that, there's been a tough vote, has there not? The Senate voted, and I thank, Senator Manchin and Senator Capito that went all in. And then all of a sudden it's gone to the House. It's been held up forever because they wanted to run both these bills at the same time. Well, finally, they broke it out. And in breaking it out, the infrastructure bill, and I thank Congressman McKinley, it took a lot of guts. It took an awful lot of guts for him to step up as he stepped up and everything. But in all of that, I surely understand the Republican stance because they feel like, on the House side, they feel like that this could be Pandora's box and it could open or crack the door from the standpoint of maybe some way, somehow, them leveraging this to be able to get the social bill passed. And so there's a lot of controversy and a lot of issues and everything there. I wish it would have been more of a bill that would have been purely infrastructure, but I can tell you this. And, and here are my notes, Mark, maybe this was more pertaining to your question, but I think that the bill has been reported that there'll be $3.8 billion that'll come to West Virginia for infrastructure investments over the next 5 years. And that's tremendous. I mean, there's no question, period. That is tremendous in every way. President Trump tried so hard to get an infrastructure bill passed that would rebuild our roads, our bridges, our water, our sewer, broadband, and everything. He tried so hard. He got blocked on everywhere we turned, over and over and over. He got blocked and blocked and blocked. Now, this is not the best of the best bills because it puts money, some of the monies, towards projects that really probably are not truly infrastructure. But it is still an infrastructure bill that West Virginia will be a tremendous beneficiary of. Again, I thank Representative McKinley because it took a lot of guts for David to go the way David went. And really, at the end of the day, I thank Senator Capito and Senator Manchin. And so from the standpoint of West Virginia's infrastructure being continued to be built out, that's what we want to have happen in West Virginia because believe me, there is people crying in every direction in the world that want to come to West Virginia, and we want to make it easier and easier and easier for them to come.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next, we'll go to Paul Mullen with WCBC.
Good morning, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Couple of questions. Number one, Governor, with the holidays coming up, are there any plans to hold a day of reflection for West Virginians lost, especially since the surge in deaths after the Delta variant? And the other would be for the medical folks. When folks got the first shot or the first round of shots, some reported feeling a little bit off for a day or two. I did not, but some did. And it was said that that was a sign that your immune system was cranking up. Do you have a similar reaction or no reaction or a mild reaction to the booster shot if you get the booster shot? Thank you.
Well, I think let me go back to the first part of your question, Paul. From the standpoint of a day of reflection or a day of prayer, between now and either Thanksgiving and or Christmas, we will have that for absolute certain. We've talked a bunch about that, and everything, within our office here and everything. We've not got it scheduled yet, but we're planning absolutely to do that. From the standpoint of your booster shot, I would say, to me, there was, I had no reaction whatsoever. But I think that is more of a question for Dr. Marsh or Dr. Amjad. But Dr. Marsh is right here with me, and so add to it, sir.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thank you, Paul. So each person is a bit different. Some people worry about having some effects, feeling a little punky maybe that day after you get the vaccine. Other people have no symptoms at all, like the governor. The symptoms that you get don't really have any direct consequence on your body's response to the vaccine based on numbers of people. We know that the booster for Moderna, for example, is half the dose of the first or second shot. So the likelihood would be that whatever, sore arm or whatever you might experience, that might even be lessened with the booster if you got Moderna. But in general, the effects of the boosters are very mild, if any. And as we said, that we need to get 85 to 90% of our population vaccinated. And particularly if you're over 40 or 50 years old and you got your vaccine 6 months ago or more, then your immune protection is not close to what it needs to be. So we need people to go get the boost doses so their immune functions back up to where it needs to be to protect them from not only getting severely ill, but protect them from dying. Thank you.
And come back to me, Jordan, just 1 second. I want everybody to really listen to one thing that I have to say today. Now, there's lots and lots of stuff that I've already reported. I hope that everybody's listened to all that. But this point is so profound. First of all, if you're worried about getting your second dose or you're worried about getting your booster shot from the standpoint you may feel a little bit, as Dr. Marsh said, funky, for a day or so, really and truly, that is making you hesitant about going to get this shot? Do you have any idea what the people that are lying in an ICU unit or hospitals, what they would give right this moment? What in the world would they give to have a choice of getting a shot and maybe for a day, worst case scenario, maybe for a day or two, you feel a little bit strange? Are you kidding me? Are you really serious? That would make you hesitate, on getting the follow-up of this booster shot or finishing your vaccine with the second shot? Are you really serious? Because absolutely, I sit here and read name after name after name, of people that would give everything if they had just your chance to go get the shot and maybe feel a little bit funky for a day or so. You know, now the other thing I want you to dial into is just this. And I can summarize it, I can bring it right down, that really and truly I think the headlines in every paper ought to be what Dr. Marsh has just told us. He's told us this: 2 doses of the vaccine, and you being 6 months from the last dose are almost of no value. Now just think about that. If you've gotten 2 doses and you're 6 months out, it's almost no value. So what's that tell you? You better run to get that booster shot. That's all there is to it. 2 doses, 6 months out, no value. That to me ought to be every headline, because we have an obligation from the media, we have an obligation from this governorship and this department to be able to tell everyone the truth, to tell everyone exactly what the news is. The boosters are available all across our state, statewide. 2 doses, 6 months out, no value. Think about that. Just think about it. Absolutely, you should be running to get that booster shot. That's all there is to it. And if you feel funky for a day, so what? So what? Think about all the people that are lying in that ICU unit or on a ventilator or whatever it may be. It could be you. It could very well be you. And absolutely think about what they would give. What they would give to not be there and have the opportunity that you have right today. Okay, Jordan.
Well, thank you, Paul. Governor, I'll turn it back to you to close out.
That was my ending. Really and truly, I'm done. You know, if we can't get it, we just can't get it. But we are trying every way in the world to educate. I absolutely have said 1,000 times over, I stand rock solid by the fact if you've got a medical condition or you've got a religious belief and everything that makes you hesitate towards getting this vaccine, I'm going to stand right with you, and I'm going to stand arm in arm with you and say that is what has made America great. Freedoms. But on the other hand, it is my job to educate you. And it is my job to absolutely try in every way I possibly can to get people across the finish line and get them vaccinated. Your booster shot is absolutely safe, and it is super effective. And absolutely, if all you do is go back to what Dr. Marsh, and there is nobody that I've run into that's smarter and more loyal to this state than all these experts, whether it be General Hoyer, Dr. Amjad, Secretary Crouch, whatever it may be, and all the other people behind them that are really helping in every way. But it is without question, how profound could it be? 2 doses. 6 months out, you have no value in them. Run and get the booster, please. Please. If you're sitting there depending on those 2 doses that are 6 months out, they're giving you, by the expert of the experts' words, no value. You got to get that shot. Okay, I'm done preaching. Thank y'all.